With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Steering wheel. Collapse the steering wheel here. Give me steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to it. Come on. Whoa.
Do that, can I please? Do that hip.
How the f*** is that supposed to be?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? Stop already. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close it down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track down the Hanger Straight.
I am so annoyed. Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Park from May for podcast number 951. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
A.K.A. Negative Camber. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we are going to cover some F1 news. It must be said, it's the summer holiday. Not a lot of news. Well, there's some news, but not necessarily news we'd want to talk about. But there have been some good art. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, we're going to talk about news. For doing that, I have to go wrestle up my co-host. That's right. You know where you love her all the way on the right coast of America. Nestled near, did I say nestled? Nestled. Isn't that nice? It's a new word. Near our nation's capital. You know her, you love her. The lovely, the redoubtable Grace! How you doing, Grace?
I believe that the Haas factory is also nestled near the Ferrari factory.
It is nestled over there.
Nestled.
I think you're right.
Okay.
I think you're right.
Oh, prime location.
And it's a nice little area with a bunch of belladonna lilies. And it's
lovely. Things are great.
Well, it's Gene. He's got an eye for detail like that, does our Gene.
Yeah, when I think Gene Haas, I think eye for detail, yes.
I think a prolific, professional gardener.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I like that visual. I just want to sit with that for a moment. That's lovely,
Could you see him with the little lawn cart with the little wheels, the little seat with the wheels that he just kind of wheels down there and he's pruning and...
Mm-hmm. Some little hedge clippers or whatever,
Yeah.
Little rake.
Little roundup, Kill that bastard.
That's
so,
right.
So there you go, Grace.
Okay.
Grace, it's been a minute since you've been on because, Formula One felt like it was be a capital idea to jam 2 or 3 races back to back.
12 races in a row?
I know.
That's great.
So we've had a lot of what I would uncategorically qualify as quality time with Paul Charsley over the last few weeks.
All time with Paul is quality, so yeah.
It is quality. It is quality. It's always quality with Paul.
Yes, things.
I'm going to take credit for Paul's fun time.
Oh.
Because I found out many, many months ago that his beloved West Ham was doing a big game over in the States.
Okay.
In Chicago. It was like a little series that Premier League did, and they came over. And I hit up Paul, and I sent him the link. Did you know about it? He said, no, it's awesome. He goes, I got to figure out a way to go. And he did. He and his wife went to Chicago, had a great time.
Chicago is great.
I think they were blowing bubbles, whatever that means. But anyway, having a great time up. It's a thing. It's a West Ham thing. I don't want to know. Let's just. I don't know. I'm sure they come by very naturally, and it means a lot to West Ham fans, and that's great. But he went and had a good time. So I was happy that he did. I was very happy that he got to see West Ham and do all that. So there you go.
Ate well.
Yes, hopefully he did.
There's a lot to eat in Chicago.
He doesn't really need to go out. He's almost gourmet chef himself.
He does take some pretty nice looking pictures. So
he does take nice pictures of food. I mean, some of that's crap I wouldn't eat, but see, he's got a more sophisticated palate.
Like green beans.
No, I just had those last night. So, Formula One news, a little thin this week. I'm a little disappointed in the F1 machine. Because summer break comes along, though, Grace, doesn't mean Formula One can't, they have to stop pooping out news.
They have to shut down their email. They got to take a break, Give it another week. They're still on vacation. They haven't come back.
Yeah, it used to be, in the old days, the F1 press, though, would just doggedly track down news and stuff.
They don't have to.
No, it's almost like they're taking a summer holiday now, too, which, hey, they work hard, granted.
Yeah.
So they deserve it. So the rest of us poor fans are out here, adrift, looking for news, and I've harvested what news I could find.
Well, they don't have to stalk the drivers. It's all on Instagram, right? Like, you don't have to,
I know. Yeah.
Where is Carlos vacationing? We know. He told us in the last Williams podcast, and I'm sure he's posted on his Instagram site. Like, we don't have to track people down anymore. There's no,
I know.
Here I am, right?
I know. There's a whole part of that, that you could sit, and just look at their, Instalame, accounts and stuff, and then you write your news article, and and Toto Wolff dropped bombshell on team, blah blah blah, and it's just from a video he posted. So, and that's fine if you're like fans like us, and you're just a podcast and commentary, two friends talking about sport we love, right. And I get that, but I'd hate to think some of that showed up in an article. Anyway, now I'm just grousing. Why
all
not?
Right, it's fine.
Hey, if you watch this podcast on the YouTube, just a slight helpful reminder that if you aren't subscribed, you can just go down. It's totally free. It doesn't cost you a dime. You just hit subscribe and hit the bell icon. We'd appreciate that. That would be nice. A huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't and would not do this podcast if it were not for our Patreon supporters. So thank you very much for your support. Let's jump into some news. You mentioned Carlos. Shall we start there?
Absolutely. Always. Okay. Any show that starts with Carlos is always a good show. It's
got to be a good show. It's Carlos.
That's right.
It happens to be one of my youngest daughter's favorites. She thinks he's dashingly handsome. So
he is dashingly handsome. I mean,
I can't argue with her. She likes Charles too.
Yeah. Also dashingly
and Lando.
handsome.
She likes Lando. Yeah. So let's start with Carlos. Now I'm going to give away a book idea here, Grace.
Okay. All right.
And it's because I don't have time to write it. Okay. So the only thing I would humbly, hat in hand, ask is any enterprising person out there or journalist or whatever that takes this idea and runs with it, because I would buy this book. Mm-hmm. I just humbly ask for 10%. Okay. I don't think that's asking a lot. Yeah. I'm handing the concept right here. So I was reading this article about young Carlos Sainz and, kind of what they experienced at Hungary, which was not a great race for Williams. Let's be honest. They were struggling a lot. But he says they had a long debrief after qualifying where he told them in detail where the car struggled and why the car was lagging at a circuit like Hungary. And he said this. I'm going to read the quote. Hat tip. Where did I get this quote? Autosport. Hat tip to Autosport. The quote is, Hungaroring, it's always been a difficult track for the team. We had quite a long debrief after qualifying because obviously I'm coming from the team that was on pole going back to a team that was in P13 with me. I could give them very strong feedback on why this car is lagging around a track like this. Obviously, for this year, we cannot do anything, but for the future, hopefully, it's a very big learning curve for the team to know how we need to develop the Formula One car to be successful and competitive, also in tracks like Budapest or Barcelona. Right. We have relatively poor aero characteristics in long corners where you need to hold the downforce from entry to mid-corner. We struggle with these kinds of things. It's hard, or it's been a trend for a very long time. That's why long straights and sharp, short corners is good for the team. But at the moment we get into long combined corners of Barcelona, Hungary, Qatar, the car really struggles. It needs a very big design philosophy change for the future. We're trying to understand where and what to change to make sure the next year's car is a bit more of an all-rounder and gives us a better platform to work in multiple tracks, end quote.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think considering the Ferrari fired their best strategist, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, and James Vowles, I might watch a lot of Williams content. It's not like he's not forthcoming with these kind of statements either, right? He's aware. He's shared these things. And so I think Carlos is right. I think that they really have to think hard about how they're going to how the 2026 car is going to be constructed. And I think that's going to be the next big test, right? I think that James Vowles has done proof of concept, right? He has made Williams a better place. He's made them more efficient, right? He's no longer running on Excel spreadsheets, right?
Yeah,
he's done all that. So now is the next big step, right? How do we move this team from this new proof of concept to like, you're gonna do well. You're gonna be a solid mid-pack team, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's right, and that's exactly what I think Carlos is speaking to, right?
Yeah. How do they do that, and how they get from this, like you said, this POC and go through an MPI press and get to Series 0 with the first product in 2026, and it'll be important to see. So here comes my book idea. I one of the things I'd love to do is listen to all the team debriefs and hear what all the different drivers say in order to help the team. There's no doubt some will be more detailed and way more out into the long grass than others. Right. Not every driver is that deep in the like aero and technical side of the car. Some are just, cold trickles, right, in the world of F1. But others are wickedly deep into the weeds as they've been doing it a long time. In the case of Carlos, he came from 2 high-performing teams, so he knows what to expect the car to do. And then it's the team's logical brain to figure out how to do it, right? But at 30,000-foot view, what I got me thinking, Grace, we've heard this for decades about, excuse me, I'm trying to think of, Nico Hulkenberg being at Sauber, he's going to be instrumental as a veteran and really help him develop the car, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's not wrong. I have every reason to believe that's right. But we hear that a lot about a lot of drivers that have, had a few races when they moved to different teams. Carlos going to Williams was said. Trying to think of some other ones. Vettel to Ferrari. Alonso anywhere. Aston Martin in particular. Yeah. So there's always this notion that these drivers going to these teams are going to be real essential for these teams to help them develop better cars.
That's right.
But at 30,000-foot view, what does each F1 driver really bring to the table during these sessions? Surely, Carlos has more actionable feedback than a driver, say, like Isaac Hadjar, right? Or Kimi Antonelli, who are F1 rookies.
Right.
So that would stand to reason. On the other hand, being aware of engineering elements and aero elements may not always make you a good driver for helping to develop a car. You may feel what you're feeling or not, but that doesn't mean, how much, lift to put in the suspension or the air to fuel mixture and the injection is slightly off, those kind of things. I think there's a real story in this entire process, and it's been talked about, as I said, for decades. And fans don't really understand just how integral drivers are to the actual detailed development beyond what the car's just doing on track and what it feels like. These days, the data the team harvests from a car, they can kind of tell what the car is doing on track and what it probably feels like, right? So what exactly is it? And nobody wants to point this out, but it's human nature. Some drivers are going to be really good at it because that's how their brain thinks, and they've really spent time digging deep into how the engine works, how the battery system works, how all that. Yeah. I always think of the stories of Schumacher staying late in the evening helping the mechanics out, and he's in there. And he often said if he wasn't an F1 driver, he would have worked in a garage, on cars.
Right.
I think Vettel was kind of that way, and that kind of thing. And so when you look across the paddock now, which drivers do we think are really technical and really do get it? I think that would be an interesting book. You could go back decades, talk to former team bosses, current team bosses, owners, drivers. You could talk to engineers. You could talk to mechanics. You can talk to the design teams. How integral, and you could even follow some of the drivers and some of the developments through the stories, if you will. But I think that would be a very interesting. I'd read it.
Yeah, it would kind of be like I was thinking of Steve Matchett's Chariot Maker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with the like human part of it as opposed to the car part of it, which
Right.
is sort of what his book does, right? Like
Right.
it kind of like there's this larger story, but in it he's like each chapter is kind of like each part of the car, right?
Yeah.
And how this all fits together. And so I think that would really work. And you're just talking to the like humans that are involved in this as opposed
Right.
to the components. I think that would be a great a bookend to that book, right? In that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that comes up a lot in MotoGP because there it's still a much more international sport.
Yeah.
And so you will have drivers who really aren't fluent in English, or you have, other team members that aren't fluent in whatever language they're fluent in, right? So there's, because of that language difference, how they talk to each other. And some part of the development driver is being able to convey what they feel on the bike, but because there's sometimes this language barrier, it's more interesting or easier to see than when everybody speaks English. It's not as easy to see where that nuance, that miscommunication might be. But I think that Luca Marini did an interview last season, I believe, where he talked about being Honda's rider and how like he had to be very careful about what he said because Honda like hung on every word.
Yeah.
And if he said, I think you painted the bike gray, it might be faster. They painted gray and he's like, oh, I just might. And he's like, they took him to heart, right? So it's like, you really kind of have to learn each team and how you all work together. And I think in that way, it's all the experience we've all had. A team is a team in some way, just like a widget's a widget, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
that I work at an agency, which is great because there are many people that's the only agency they've ever worked at, even if they've had multiple jobs within that agency. But it's like that's great because you have this really stable team. But then as somebody who's come from another agency, I say, well, why don't we do it this way? And they're like, we never thought to do it that way. Right. Because I'm bringing this other experience that I've had over here building this widget that I'm applying to this widget. So I think you would have that too. It would be interesting both against team members who have left as well as the drivers who have gone, like, here's what Red Bull does or here's how Haas does it. And they all bring that together. As well as what the driver, because the driver is only one component. It's just the most visual component for us as fans. But for sure, and I mean, even so you kind of have like your Cardilis or your Washes or your people like there's some other people that we know their names too. Yeah. But once you sort of go down some layers where I've never heard of these people and I wouldn't know them if I bumped into them in Milton Keynes, you see this kind of different knowledge that they bring from the different teams. It would be really interesting.
I think so.
To see how that book would look like. It would be really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think, as fans on the outside, I don't think we hear a lot of that, but certainly that the pundits, the players in the paddock, I'm sure if you went to Toto, or I'm sure if you went to Fred Vasseur or pick a team boss, Laurent Mekies or whoever. Yeah. I'm sure they could tell you in their time in Formula One which drivers everyone knew was like super into that and really impactful in car development versus other drivers that were outstanding drivers but not really into the engineering and helpful setting up cars, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to add to that, Grace, is when I think of the current paddock and current drivers, and I look across those, and everyone talks about Alonso's ability to help develop a car, or Nico ability. Yeah. Everybody, and they talk about Lewis. The thing about Lewis is, though, I don't hear that from him necessarily. So that must be conversations that he's having with the team. Although I've heard through the grapevine that he's maybe not as strong as some of the other guys at that. He's more of a naturally talented driver. But I don't know if that's true. And the other thing is, when I listen to them, I can't help but keep coming back to Alex Albon. Because I feel like Alex has a real grip on the technicalities of the car, how it's set up, what it's doing. I don't know. He speaks in, when they ask him, he has very lengthy answers about the car, what it's doing, what they're looking. He just seems to be in command of that element of it. I don't know if you get that from him.
I do. And I was just thinking what would be interesting. You mentioned Lewis, right? Like,
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see Lewis across his career at Mercedes.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again, I think just like all of us, I always joke that, when I first started working in my field, I used to carry my journal articles with me because people would question everything I said. And I'm like, oh, whose name is on that? Right. Okay. So that's why, I always had to kind of sell myself because I'm just some 20-year-old. What do I know? Right. Maybe I know something. Right. But now I'm old enough that doesn't even come up. Nobody even knows what I've published or what I've written on or what I've studied because I'm old enough. They're like, oh, we believe Grace. So there has to be some amount of that too, because especially I think of Yuki Tsunoda at Red Bull that, I remember watching an episode of the race and they were like, somebody, a fan asked a question like, why is everybody so down on Yuki? And, and John Noble or somebody was just like, because that's what Red Bull says.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, they're creating this narrative. So I think that while you always have to manage that narrative, and that's true for each of us, it's true for them too, because the last thing you want to be is the high maintenance guy or, well, Yuki just swears a lot or whatever this narrative becomes, whether it's true or not. But if that team puts that out there and that's what people hear, then that's what gets stuck to, because how much interaction do I have with Yuki? I have to believe Red Bull, right? So I think that there is some delicate balance. That's why I think it would be interesting to listen to somebody with like a long-term history at a team, like Lewis at Mercedes, like how he was here, how that changed when they started not doing well. And I think also Lewis tends to talk about himself and not the team, which is its own strategy. He never says, well, the team sucked today. He says like, well, I could have done better, ... if Ferrari wouldn't have sucked today, right? Like, so there's a different strategy, but that's certainly not how he talked about it in McLaren. So, because he'd still be there if that was the case.
I think you bring up a really good point. And I'm just going to dovetail on that. It would be interesting to see drivers that have moved to different teams, i.e. Lewis or Vettel or Alonso or some of those ones that have driven for 2, maybe 3 teams or more. And let's say that they are really effective at understanding the concepts behind all that. There is that dynamic of how much does the team really want from them? How much is the team willing to take the time to talk to the driver, and I'm not implying anything, but some engineers and designers and stuff like that, they're, at the absolute top of their game and they're like, okay, that's the driver. That's,
that's what they always say.
That's a commodity. We know what we're doing. And in the case of Adrian Newey, he does, so I think the helpful, what's the car doing on the track? What's it feel like? And what happens when we give you these parameters? And what does it do when I give you these? I think that's very helpful. But, so in some cases, maybe the drivers, when the driver wants to roll up the sleeves and say, well, let's get down and let's talk about those wheel bearings, time out. Maybe they don't want to hear that. I just think it would be an interesting read. I'd love to know, which drivers up and down in the history of sport, not just current, were known for being absolute engineering wonks working hand in fist to help develop the car versus which ones. And even if they weren't that kind of driver, maybe they're just incredibly good at giving feedback on what the car is doing in minute detail. I think Senna was that way quite a bit.
So you're kind of, you're kind of creating a scale. At one end is Kimi Räikkönen. I drive the car, right? I just show up. Your job, Ferrari, is to build the car. I just show up and get in it. So that's kind of that at one end. And then maybe you do have like a Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna at the other end, right? Like, so it's kind of where would you place each of these drivers kind of on this? And it is an interaction. Again, just like all of us, right? We've all had bosses that are really like, oh, that's great, Todd. You should look into that and you should do it. And then you have bosses that are like, whatever, right? We've all worked for both of those kind of people that, or you've had a boss that's like, they'll say like, oh yeah, I really want innovation. It's lip service. They say that, but they don't actually do it, right? They don't put money behind it. They're not really actually putting anybody's ideas into action. You're like, oh, okay, I see how it is. Just do what you're telling me to do, and I'm going to go look for another job, right? That has to happen there as well. So it would be interesting to see that from Kimi to Senna, Räikkönen to Senna. Let's see what that looks like.
And in this case, to close it, it's, you got Carlos talking to James Vowles, and James Vowles kind of knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
And so, it's an interesting dynamic. I'd love to know more about it. That's why I think it'd be a great book. I just want 10% on whoever writes it.
And I do think there's great synergy between Vowles and Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. I think the three of them together have a real...
yeah, I do too.
Bond,
they seem to anyway.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside looking in, they seem to.
Yeah.
Let's see. A little bit of surprise this weekend. Out of nowhere, out of the fog of negotiations, comes a very loving, praising Toto Wolff on George Russell. What?
Toto.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. So Toto recorded a mid-season update for fans in which he praised George, saying, quote, are you ready? Hang on to your seat, Grace.
I can't wait. All right.
When I look at George, the development he's made since he joined Formula One, from the fast kiddo in Williams and then being drafted into Mercedes, clearly with the greatest of all greats with Lewis Hamilton. I added this sigh. And you've seen already last year, now this is, here, I got a soundbite. I'll tell you what this statement is.
Controversy.
It's controversy. So, and you've seen already last year, he started to be so strong on pure pace in terms of the results, the stronger driver. And now with Lewis having gone to Ferrari, meaning he was better than Lewis last year. And now with Lewis having gone to Ferrari, he's taken the senior driver slot. And it completely came naturally, and he delivers. He delivers even when the car is not on the level. He outperforms the car. You can always count on George. And beyond the driving, obviously, he's also great with our partners and does a lot of activities that help us to build his brand and build our brand. So we couldn't wish for a better number one driver.
I'm just going to put this out here. This is not how you'd want your significant other to describe yourself to other people.
No.
That's great. I feel very uplifted right now by this statement, Toto.
Oh, my gosh. This statement in and of itself, when you juxtapose it to all other for the last 3 or 4 years, in and of itself should make you upset if you're George. Where was all this love when I was beating Lewis last year, and when you wouldn't kick Valtteri out and bring me in when I was clearly ready, and when I sat in for him, I effectively won the damn race. I don't know, folks. So now, what do we know about this? So heading into the break, Grace, Mercedes, at the last race, Sky had mentioned this in their broadcast too. Mercedes made the comment that they said the contract is in George's hands right now. Oh, okay. And it's kind of up to him. It's in his hands, right? Okay. And we thought, right? And that tells me that they made an offer and are waiting for Russell's answer. That's how you would take that.
Right.
The question is it a simple 1-year deal, which George has no interest in?
No,
is it
driver does.
Yeah. Is it a multi-year deal, but George isn't happy with the terms or pay, right?
Yeah.
And George said you won't see anything, until after the summer break, all right? Mm-hmm. So I like how, and so with my nefarious hat on, I do like, so let's just say they've not given George any love hardly at all. No. They were whining and dining.
This doesn't even count as love.
No, this is just almost patronizing, right? This is patronizing. They were out, whining and dining Max and trying to attract him over and holding George off and, in the hopes they could get Max and all this stuff. And now, when it looks like Max is staying, they got Kimi Antonelli. They got this driver who's actually even driving better this year than last. Now, all of a sudden, they have this statement to come out. So, with my conspiracy hat on, I like how Toto and Mercedes got out ahead of George's decision on this, showing the public this whole praising, loving manner, when for the past 3 years he's been the also-ran, despite being better than Lewis and better this year. You might argue that in in defense of Lewis, you might argue Lewis was a short timer at Mercedes back then, but,
Right.
and this year hasn't helped support that notion. But George is driving incredibly well. So, like decades before this one, this is a game. This is the game that's played out in the press to place gentle urges or even pressure on either the driver or team. It works both ways, Grace. Remember, we've seen drivers, say things. Lewis has kind of said a few things. Alonso putting a little pressure on the team to make a decision and hurry up, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen this. But I think it's going to be, to me, what's going to be more interesting to see if George responds to this, because Mercedes outmaneuvered him on this, right?
Yeah.
So they got out ahead of George's decision. So if George comes back and holds out longer, they're going to say, I don't know, we love him.
We told
We said
you.
we love him, we want him.
Right
you
here,
know.
we told you we loved him.
Yeah, see right here, it's quoted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see if George responds to this. And if so, that might be very telling as well.
Yeah, basically George has no leverage. He is at the lower end of this deal, right? Because if he doesn't like the contract, he doesn't like the bill, I'm sure Bottas
Right.
would take a 1 year or
Yeah.
1 year
Oh,
plus
for
an
sure.
option year, right?
For sure.
Checo would take a 1 plus an option year, right? There are plenty of
Yep.
people that are always waiting, George, if you
Yep.
don't want it. And I think that, you can see the difference in the way that Toto talks about Kimi versus the way he talks about George.
Totally.
And George is getting screwed again. Once again, you are Esteban Ocon, my friend. You have no leverage, and you listen to Toto's lies. And now look where that's got you, right? You stayed at Williams, and then Toto promised you, I'm going to bring you up. At least he did bring him up to the main team, unlike Esteban, who completely
2
screwed
years
over.
late.
But at least he made it there. So I don't know. You're going to have to either accept the terms they have or make yourself comfortable in whatever second car is next to Esteban Ocon. And you can just be, Toto's rejects together because you have no leverage, my friend.
Yeah, and you could argue, I said back then that, now, it was 2 years late. They should have brought him into Mercedes much earlier. They said, now, wait a minute. George is really younger than Kimi Antonelli.
No, I know, right?
I think not.
How convenient, right?
Yeah, that's a convenient argument.
Yeah, now it's totally fine,
Yeah,
right?
now it's totally
that
fine
was
to throw a
then.
17, 18-year-old in there. But, back then, George was pretty young.
He's still a little rusty. Let's get out of here.
I don't know George. I've never met him. Maybe he's a prickly character. Maybe he isn't that likable personality. I have no idea. But maybe he's a jolly guy and he's a delightful guy. I have no idea. But he has just never really been this team's favorite. And to have a comment like that is...
Which is so random because he's always he seems to be like the marketing dream, right?
Well, you would think. He's got a quirky personality. I'll give him that. But...
Yeah, it's quirky, but I don't know that you would have to he's, again, not Kimi Räikkönen. I don't necessarily worry.
Yeah.
If I was this is Todd and he's the head of Corporation XYZ and they're about to sign with us. Let's send George.
Yeah.
I'm not worried, right?
Yeah.
Let's send George. That'll be fine. George will talk to Todd and Todd will sign. We'll be great, right?
George will be great. Yeah.
I'm not worried about what might be said in that meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's where, George
he
comes
had
off
to he had to put together a PowerPoint to get this job.
That is correct.
So he knows how to do that.
That's right. So
he's got wacky transitions. They fly in. No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of applause. Things fly in,
fly out. They rotate. So.
PowerPoint. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right?
Man, ain't that the truth?
So,
yes.
But I think that George is going to have to work it. But yes, Mercedes knows what they're doing. So
I saw an article. I don't remember what, and it was one of those, headlines that who knows how they get made. It's like George Russell, close to signing, record-breaking $30 million a year contract. I have no idea if that's right or not. But anyway. So we'll see. I maintain that if I was George, I would have been having some very quiet conversations with Lawrence at Aston Martin, because that would be, British driver, British team.
Alonso has to retire eventually.
Alonso's got to retire eventually, and a lot of people feel like Lance should retire immediately.
But that has not happened, even though we've wanted that for 7 years, and he's only been in the sport for 6. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
I don't actually know how long he's been in, but I think that, you be out there talking to people, George, but I think that's the other place where he has no leverage. You're at Mercedes, right? You're not at Alpine. You're not Pierre Gasly trying to get yourself a better seat.
I know.
There's a lot of better seats above Mercedes. So.
No, that's right. And he has to take, and he of all people know that better than anyone, right?
That's right.
So he knows what side his bread is buttered, but
maybe he's the new Alonso, and every team he leads gets better.
Maybe. Maybe he's just, it's a timing thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's see.
Interesting. Hey, another news in Formula One. So there was an article, I believe, over Auto Sports talking about the FIA apparently in 2026 is still leading with another mandatory two-stop in Monaco.
Sure, because it was great the first time. Why not keep it?
It was great the first time, wasn't it? It really... Yeah. Let's see. What do they say in F1? Spiced up the show. Yeah.
Just bring in those random rain clouds, too, while we're at it. That really spiced up the show.
The sprinklers and shortcuts. So there was an article that said Monaco is still slated to have a mandatory two-stop rule for 2026, and James Vowles was befuddled as to why. And this is
that face. I can just...
Yeah, I know. Because he's thinking... Wait a minute.
What?
I mean, we pretty much screwed everybody in that race by backing our cars up and backing everybody else. Why would they still do that? I mean, we're the perfect example of what kids don't do what I'm about to do. That's kind of, I don't know, kind of odd. But anyway, the article goes on to say that James admits the team had both drivers running close, when the teams last year, if you forget, the teams last year had drivers that were running close together. They would just use leading car to back the entire field up so they could make a stop, or they would use the second car, to back the whole field up so the car could stop and retain track position. And this got, a lot of people were upset about that, right? Including Toto Wolff. You'll recall it was not fun. Toto wasn't real happy about it. And neither were either teams. But teams are, and this is what I think, Paul and I said on the podcast, teams are going to always exploit the rules. And I'm curious why the FIA couldn't have, they missed this exploit in their models and discussions about requiring all teams to two-stop. Seems like this would have been one of the ones that...
Did they watch the race?
I don't know.
I mean, again, I am by no means I feel weird saying this, an F1 expert, even though I have an F1 podcast. But I can see, I got eyes. I watched the race. Did they not watch the race? Yeah, I know.
I guess the nuance here that I thought was even more interesting was in the FIA statement about the issue with Nicholas Tambazzi saying this, Grace, quote, First of all, we don't think what we saw this year is necessarily the thing to repeat or the thing to aim for. Okay. There is an issue to be addressed. At the moment, the 2026 rules still include the 2 pit stops for Monaco, but we're in August and Monaco is June next year. Clearly, the request to the teams is to be creative and propositive. I've never heard that word. I'm sorry.
Me neither.
I don't know if that's a typo in the article or if that's like a thing.
That's good. It's a word now.
It's a word now. It's in my lexicon now. I'm putting it in my PowerPoints.
Yes.
We need to take a more propositive position on that. So anyway, he continues. We at the FIA are not sold on any particular solution yet. If there are proposals that will make it better, then we will definitely support them. This is one of the topics that will be discussed with the Sporting Advisory Committee and the F1 Commission in the next few meetings, end quote. So the FIA are asking teams to come up with a better idea. I mean, I don't know, were they just too busy changing the internal regulations to safeguard MBS's presidency to consider creating their own plan? Or what exactly is going on there? I mean, maybe come up with multiple different ideas. You could always have the teams, chime in on them, let them review them and chime in.
You should do the first draft.
Yeah, right. Maybe, exactly.
Right.
Maybe you should do the first draft.
And you present it, and we all will comment on your first draft, right? Again, that should come from you.
Instead of saying, yep, it's going to stay that way until one of the USOBs come up with a better idea.
So I think there's a simple solution to this. Stop racing in Monaco. Problem solved.
Oh,
Why do we have to
go.
keep having this conversation?
Well.
Although I will say that the Monaco this year birthed one of my favorite memes still this season, and it's the one of Toto Wolff where he's like up above the garages, and James Vowell is walking down pit lane, and the text is, Toto says, "What's your name?" And he says, "James," and he goes, "James, you," right? Like, I was like, that was great because it's clearly, and it fit very much their facial expressions. Like,
it did.
What are you doing?
It
It almost brings me as much joy as every time it shows up Toto Wolff, marching down the pit lane. They're like him going to McLaren to get his engine back, right? That one's always great too, right? Like,
That's good.
It does suck when the other team with your engine is doing better than you are, but so it was fine. But really, we're racing at Monaco. How are we spicing this up, right? Like, it
Hard
is
to
what
do.
it is,
Yeah, hard to do.
Let's just all stop randomly during the race. Everybody has to make a stop at Rascas. That'll spicing it up,
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
Don't bring some pro-positivity to this this race.
Is there a way to add propositiveness?
I feel like that's a word that, like, I don't know if you've ever played this game, but like if you have to give a presentation, like your friends give you a word and you have to somewhere work that word into it, and it has to be something completely unrelated to your field. So it is this like, why would you have said that word, right? That's part of the challenge. That's what I feel like that is. I feel like somebody said, we want you to use this word somewhere in this presser and go, right? You had to figure out where to fit that in there.
Where would I fit that in?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, in these everyday situations, you got to cram some sort of word in. I'm trying to look it up, and I'm not.
I mean, who am I to question single seat? What is it? Single seat, not administrator. What is he? The single seat like, commissioner or something?
Yeah. He's like boss of single seat racing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that it's single seat racing. It's great. That's a great category that you are in charge of there, Mr. Tabassi.
Right.
Commissioner of all things single seat.
Right.
Yeah. So who am I to question you in your use of the
English
language?
I don't know. Nicholas forgot more about F1 than I'll know.
That's correct. What do I know?
He's the
about?
guy.
That's right.
So I don't know. We'll see what the teams come up with.
Please, I just really want that piece of paper to be, pushed across as if it's like how much your car is going to cost you or something like, and it just says, let's not race there anymore.
Yeah, right. Keep Spa, drop Monaco.
Yes,
exactly.
I
solved it.
Problem solved.
Although Paul and I reckon we love Monaco. Let's see. In other news, okay, I'm going to jump in on this. I'm trying to be measured in my approach here.
I don't think that's what people come to the show for. I'm just putting that out there.
Okay, all right.
I don't think I would, if I was, flipping through my podcast, like, you know what, I want a really measured take on Formula One. This is not why you're here, my friends. If you want a measured take, somewhere else.
Well, although on race reviews, Paul and I try to be non-biased. We're not in there. As Americans, we don't have a knife in the fight.
Well, there's difference between. That doesn't mean you're measured. You're still sharing your insights.
Oh, that's true. Well, and if I let if I let my inner Ferrari fan out, then everybody knows I'm a Ferrari fan. But anyway,
okay.
I want to talk about Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis's Ferrari journey is what I want to talk about.
It's been great. It's been going great.
It's been
great.
Great. Everyone is happy.
Ferrari is doing well. I can't believe it. Fred.
Yes.
Fred really knows what he's doing, that guy.
Yeah, he does. He totally knows what he's doing. So, I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I thought, okay, so not everyone drives to glory when they join Ferrari. And Lewis's current struggles, while concerning, and they're kind of basically how I predicted they would go, if I'm honest. Because if you recall, I said when they said, Lewis is going to Ferrari, that's a terrible idea. That's just a bad idea for a host of reasons. And I talked about it back then, about how I felt like this would go. Ferrari, But I'm defending Lewis here, okay? Irrespective of me saying I would never have done that and spent that kind of money on Lewis, I am defending him here because Ferrari itself has left a wake of drivers in the weeds with little success as far as titles go. And I think it's important to note that these drivers were all highly touted as top drivers when they went there, right? So consider, if you will, for veteran F1 fans out there, you know some of these names. If you're newer to Formula One, you may look them up. But consider, if you will, Eamon, Ix, Reutemann, Andretti, Berger, Alesi, Prost, Villeneuve, Mansell, Massa, Alonso, Vettel, Sainz, and to be fair, Leclerc so far, as well as Lewis, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at a list like that of, really great drivers, pedigree drivers who didn't taste the sweet champagne of success and multiple titles and that kind of thing, Lewis is in pretty damn good company here, Right. Whether he wins a title with him or not, it's not easy to do. It isn't easy, and you have to think that with Prost, Alonso, or Vettel before Lewis, they should have been able to win a title.
Right.
I mean, the drivers were not the problem, all right? And a guy like Alain Prost or Fernando Alonso, all right? Mm-hmm. And Vettel. I mean, he's won 4 titles. So they should have won the title, but the team is a different beast entirely. And the last time they won a title, the team and management, they shook up the team and management. They had a Frenchman come in and run the team, right? And the Frenchman brought Ross Brawn.
Right.
And the Frenchman hired Michael Schumacher, right?
Right.
And they won, 5 titles or whatever it was. And now there's a Frenchman at the helm. Can Fred turn this around? I'm not sure, but it is clear that Lewis is struggling. And I'm not sure if he can find the right footing here. What say you, Grace?
Well, I don't think being French is what this team is going to be what turns this team.
My point is it was an outsider, right? Not an Italian that came up through the ranks.
Right, but I liked that it was poetic, only the French can save Ferrari.
Only the French can do it.
That's right.
Oui. But of course.
Yes, the French. They were here to save Ferrari. No, I mean, I think that, yes. I mean, you can go to YouTube and just type in Ferrari radio and it will just, all of it, Kimi, Vettel, you know what I mean? It's not hard to find the things that have been said on that radio from driver to team. It is clearly not just an isolated event. Now, I do think that ground effects is not Lewis's friend, and this is not really, going to be keen to his driving style. And to me, I think it very much Lewis in this current era, but especially with Ferrari, is very similar to Ricciardo at McLaren. It just was never going to really work out, and that really sucks. But there's changes. Ferrari is making changes to the car that is going to make it better for Lewis. Yeah. But it's just this isn't going to work for Lewis, and you're going to see it's a real sea change in the way Formula One was. And, maybe Fernando Alonso was not so great now, is it, huh? When that shoe's on the other foot. Now it's your turn to be the old guy that can't adapt to this completely new way of racing. Right. So that for sure does not help him at all. But I do think you kind of have to look at it from Ferrari's perspective as well. Why did Ferrari hire Lewis, right? Right. I mean, they could have kept Sainz. So what is there to gain by not keeping Sainz? What is Ferrari getting out of it? Right. So they're smart people, right? We're just talking about single-seater commissioner Nicolas Sabasi and his use of the English language. There are smart people at Ferrari, so you have to look at what getting rid of your best strategist is going to get you by hiring Lewis. And, was there something that Carlos couldn't overcome? It could be that Lewis... I could see Fred maybe can leverage Lewis is a world champion, and he can leverage that to get his way heard, right? Like, I brought you this great person. Let's make this team work the way I'm suggesting it, right? It may give Fred some space that just being Charles Leclerc's guy isn't going to give him, right? Like, because that's true too. He has a relationship with Charles Leclerc, and if you want Leclerc to do well, bring in Fred. But that it wasn't enough. So maybe this is it. I think you talk about, you mentioned Vettel, and I think that Ferrari, when Vettel was there, and he came in under Arrivabene, and then Arrivabene was fired before Vettel even got there, right? Like, it was not the same Ferrari that it is now, even though in like broad strokes, Ferrari over the course of time has been very Ferrari-like. I think what Vettel was going into is very different than what Lewis is coming into.
I agree.
And, so I don't know. Yes, Ferrari, they don't need him for the branding. I think that doesn't hurt, right? You're paying a lot of money. It helps that he has a big brand, and there's a lot on Team LH. It does not hurt. But it may also provide in that same way that kind of open space for people to try something different. Like you were saying, right? Like Jean Todt, right? We're going to bring in this guy. Let's just see what Lewis is going to bring to the table. And he already brings pedigree, right? He doesn't have to bring his journal articles with him. He's already got championships, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And let's see if that will help us make this sea change that Fred is trying to help here. I mean, it's kind of like bringing in like the CEO from another successful company, right? Like, he was over there. You already have seen what he can do, so let's bring him over here and try to apply some of that to here.
Yeah.
I think that Vettel could have done that. I think that if Vettel was 5 years later, he could have done that. I just think that when Vettel came in was just such a disaster for Ferrari. It's saying something for Ferrari, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter how great Vettel was. They were not in a place for that.
No, they weren't. And they went through all kinds of big changes over there, when they got rid of Dimano Zemelo all the way down. And I think a couple things to chime in on your thoughts there was, I think it's a good juxtaposition with Ricardo. I think, for Paul and I think you and I reached the same conclusion, was that I just don't, whenever they changed to the cars, the hybrid era, 2014, for whatever reason, I don't think Daniel really resonated.
That's right. It just didn't.
And I'm not quite sure. He was at multiple teams to give it a shot. And it just didn't work.
Right.
I just, for some reason, he just couldn't get on top of that car. That's, at least from the outside looking in, it's what it seemed, right? And I feel like this aero ground effects thing has had a similar impact with Lewis, it would seem. And who knows, next year he could really flourish. Maybe that kind of downforce and the way it's generated and the chassis and everything with the big regulation change, he could really fly. Who knows? I do think, in my opinion, though, it's a tall order for him to beat the likes of Max, Lando, Oscar, George, and Charles these days. I just think it is. These young drivers in the next generation are just exceptional. I think it's going to be tough. You mentioned the brand. I said it before. I would never have hired him and paid all that money for his Instagram account. His brand is awesome. And he is a huge fan favorite, no doubt. He's got a big following. But in my mind, Ferrari doesn't need any branding help as one of the most iconic brands in the history of the world. It would be like Apple saying, we really need to hire Taylor Swift to elevate our brand. No, they don't. They don't.
I don't know.
To your point.
They force us all to listen to a YouTube album.
Yeah, right. So, would it hurt? No, you're right. It wouldn't, it'd help. It wouldn't hurt anything, no doubt about it. But I don't know that hanging your hat on the fact that, we really wanted him to elevate the brand. I don't. And it's not, I'm not implying that's what you're saying.
No, I think that, I don't
but
think
in
Ferrari
my mind,
would do that.
Ferrari doesn't need it, and I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about the lunch I had with at the time he was the the head of Ferrari Global brand is a guy named Stefano Light, a wonderful guy, really, really short guy. And I was thinking, where is Stefano, right? And we looked him up on LinkedIn, and he's in a different job. So I reached out and hit connect, and he accepted. Who knew? And I said, I had lunch with you, and he's a real nice guy. So yeah, the brand, Ferrari didn't need that. So, I think it comes back to your point. I think let's see what happens in 2026. You got Fred, he's got Lewis. The regulations are making big changes. Charles getting frustrated. You want him to do well. Let's see what they do in 2026. If the team isn't on song, the car isn't on song, but the drivers are, it'll just play out. But I think it's a little harsh to take the stuffing out of Lewis at this point. He's in really good company. Even if he doesn't make the most out of his Ferrari journey, well, heck, Vettel didn't, Alonso didn't,
right?
Charles hasn't, hell, Prost couldn't, right?
Right.
So yeah, lighten up a little bit on him. That's just my takeaway. I think the question isn't just about Lewis. I think to me that it's really like, why did Fred do this, right? Why did Fred think this was a good idea? Why did Ferrari think this was a good idea? Why, So I think I think there's a lot going on here that isn't just Lewis. I totally agree. Totally agree with you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, this isn't just a Lewis issue.
Right.
It's a Ferrari issue and has been for several years. Yeah. All right, should we do some Albon's Cats? Let's do that. I mean, we kind of like to talk about other things that are around Formula One, like Alex Albon posting all the pictures of his cats, Who doesn't like that? Seems fun. Let's see, what do you got for us in Albon's Cats, Grace?
All right, well, so first, we had a race in Hungary.
We did.
And I have joked many times that you can get rid of any track you want, just don't get rid of Hungary, because that's the only track McLaren always does well at. Well, now that we do well at all of the tracks, I still think don't get rid of Hungary. Now, because now it's just, I think that Aston Martin is the new McLaren. Don't get rid of Hungary. It's the only track that Aston Martin can do well at. So don't get rid of that.
Hence your Alonso gear you're wearing tonight.
Right. I just think, and be mindful, people, at the next race. Don't start this. Well, Aston was really hungry. Hungary is such an outlier. It's slow, high downforce, such an outlier. Everybody can be good there. Everybody can be bad there. It has no bearing on anything else. So Aston Martin will not be good at the next race. Spoiler alert, I guess. So I'm just putting that out there. But I just wanted to give a shout out to, I'm going to say, friend of the show, Ruth Buscombe, because I watch the F1 streaming service. I don't watch Sky. But I just love Ruth because I love that
Ruth is awesome.
She's an excellent source of information. It's something that I feel has always been missing, and I'm glad to see that there are more people like Bernie Collins and Ruth Buscombe that are strategists and they provide that information that I've always found is missing, especially from Sky, which is all like, we have 20 drivers and 2 professionals and no strategy conversation, which it's Formula One. It's all about strategy. So I love that this is a way forward that they finally found, but I love that she's really good at providing the information. You never feel like lowest common denominator, you're being talked down to. And she just is genuinely hyped up and excited for this sport.
She is. She's got a lot of energy. She's the kind of person, if you were sitting next to her at a bar and you're just like, what do you do? You would go home and be like, Todd, I don't know what you're doing tonight, but we got to watch this thing called Formula One, right? It's just infectious how into this she is. I know, she's great. And so I just want to put that out there, that I think that I feel I'm more negative sometimes towards the broadcast, but I wish we could have like 20 Ruths. I think that's just that's what we should all be aiming for in our sports broadcasting, and especially in Formula I think
One.
Ruth brings a lot to the broadcast, a lot to the table, just like I think Bernie Collins does.
Yeah,
I think Bernie is absolutely terrific. And, nobody likes talking about tires, but Bernie does a great job of explaining, the impact, and she does a great job. Last week on the podcast, Sky brought in Jamie Chadwick as a driver. Now, Jamie's won several, 2 or whatever, Formula W titles.
Right.
She's a great driver, and she added a tremendous amount to the broadcast, unlike Naomi and the other people that they have. Jamie was fantastic, and
like
she worked well with Ant, and I thought she was very insightful.
Yeah.
So for my money, Ruth, Bernie, Jamie, those are the people that... My point is, there's a lot of people that are broadcast pros, several on Sky or whatever. I think Rachel does a fantastic job, Pink and Simon and those guys. Those are all broadcast professionals. They've been doing a long time. They bring Naomi and throw her in the deep end. She's not a broadcast professional, and she is not a long-time seasoned driver. And so... it's difficult, right? But when you have the broadcast professionals and then you bring in Ant Davidson, I think PDR did a good job of it. Martin Brundle, of course. I think even Martin's son does a good job, Alex. And so when you bring in those people, they've got to be additive to the broadcast. Jensen Button is additive. Like him or not, Nico Rosberg is additive to the broadcast just because of what he knows.
But additive.
He's very ornery for sure, and he likes to stir things up, but he's additive to the conversation and the broadcast, right? So yeah, I'm glad you gave Ruth a shout out. She's terrific. I love her.
Yeah. So I think I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I also feel coming out of Hungary, I would be remiss if I would be doing disservice to our listeners if we didn't have a conversation about the world's longest radio message from Charles Leclerc during the Hungary Grand Prix. We have a 77-inch TV. I was pretty sure that message was going to fall off the bottom of it.
It was almost like turned into the Star Wars introduction, scroller, It's like, whoa.
I loved it. And I also love that it is a quote that we could all, we've all said this. Right? Either in our heads or in a meeting, some version of if you'd all just listen to me, I would have found a different way for us to manage these issues. But now it's just undrivable. It's unbelievable. We're never going to finish on a podium. It was just you could just feel it. And it was like, oh, Formula One drivers really are like us because we have all been in that position where
you were several years ago with the BMW. You said, Chris Bangle, if you would just listen to me, I can figure out how to do the trunk.
I blame everything on Mike Elliott now. Mike Elliott is also like Chris Bangle, right? Mercedes is like, Chris, if we could have done this, we've lost all competitiveness now. If you just listened to me, I would have found a different way to manage this issue. So it's just I love that quote. It was just, earlier we were talking about Ferrari and all its Ferrari-ness, but this was one for the ages, and the fact that it was just the whole side. I was like, whoa, we're gonna have to get a bigger TV. I don't think we needed one, but I guess we do now, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted that. I just couldn't let that go, even though I don't get to be on the race podcast because that for sure. I don't know if it would have been my donkey of the race, but it was sure great. It was a great moment.
It was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I did, a little MotoGP conversation, but this one does have, in fact, a Formula One tie to it.
Totally does.
You remember the other friend of the show, Gunther Steiner, your favorite, Gunther. Steiner.
Yeah, the Steiner. Yeah.
So apparently Gunther Steiner is going to buy the Tech 3 MotoGP team. They run KTM currently. Yeah, so that's going to be great. I just, why not? Why not bring that personality into another team that we all have to watch? And when we were discussing the story before we started taping, I like Todd's idea of things are going to go downhill. He's still going to call Gene. He's going to be like, you don't work for me anymore. I know, but we're having problems. I just thought I'd call you.
Effing idiots. This is effing race. It's terrible. This is effing team.
I just wanted to call you. So I love that, and then somebody explained to me, or somebody made the reference that Hervé Poncharal, who's at Tech 3, he's the team principal. They don't really call him team principals, but anyway, technical director, and that he's very much like Gunther Steiner. I'm like, oh, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, why you put this in a language I understand of who this
we're
person
connecting
is,
dots.
and how this all works together. And so apparently, you know, they're kind of thick as thieves. They're familiar personalities to each other. And I welcome you. I welcome you, Gunther Steiner, into MotoGP.
And Grace, it's not like Gunther's walking into a happy harmony. The two drivers, the riders they have, we've seen how Gunther handled, you know, driver issues at Haas. This is a surefire solution to Tech 12's issues.
Could it top? I mean, I remember after in Drive to Survive, after Roman Grosjean, you know, catches on fire.
Yeah. Right.
The next time you see him talking to Steiner, and Steiner makes some joke about like, well, could you not catch on fire in this race? Like, what are you talking about? Like, like the guy almost died.
Who says that?
I remember that isn't exactly what he said, but he might as well have just said, let's get some sticks and some s'mores for next week, right? Like, what? I don't understand how you're still blaming a man who almost died for your team.
Right.
So, I don't know. It was just great. But yes, I think Enea Bastianini and Maverick Vinales, who are the current two Tech 12 riders, are both. I'm trying to think of like, are there some? I don't know. We're all waiting for that to explode.
Yeah.
And I think it's only because both of them are doing pretty well this season, and especially Vinales until he got injured. But that's just going to explode. So you have the fireworks of Bastianini, you have the fireworks of Vinales. Let's throw some, light
Gunther
fluid on
in.
top of that and put Gunther Steiner in charge of this team.
Let's just
What could go
Gunther it
wrong?
up.
That's right.
That's
He's
good.
just all the lighter fluid you can imagine on that team. It's great.
Is. Oh, it's good. You want some no-shit headlines?
I love that.
All right. Here's the first one. Toto Wolff gives frank reason why he eats exactly the same thing every day.
For all three meals or just breakfast?
I don't even want to know that. But it's a headline. I don't want to know that.
Frank reason, because it makes me feel full. I like apples. I don't know what, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't assume
Yeah,
it's
it's
every
just,
meal. That seems like a lot.
Maybe it just goes down better, Get down. I don't know.
Like a spoonful of sugar? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Next up.
Okay.
Lewis Hamilton's mystery announcement now revealed after teasing F1 fans. So he had said, wait till the 8th. We'll have some news on the 8th. And everybody thought it had something to do with the announcement on his career. Turns out he's like sponsoring some product.
Oh.
It's like,
buy my new beard lotion.
Yeah, it was like, really? Okay.
Okay,
that
cool.
kind of fell flat.
My new fragrance.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
I mean, Lewis Hamilton, you're great. You are not Beyonce, right?
No.
Like, you cannot just be like, hang around for the 8th and we're all going to be like, yes, whatever Beyonce does, we're into it, right?
Oh my gosh, that product, I'm buying a case of it or whatever. It's non-alcoholic spirits or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, let's see. Next up, F1 team told to sack driver on the spot after worrying error behind closed doors.
Okay,
Now,
first of all, this has to be Alpine.
It is Alpine.
Okay, because that's the only team that has to be Alpine.
It is Alpine.
Perfect.
And I love the headline, F1 team told to sack driver. Told by who? Well, you read it's fans.
Probably.
Okay.
Calapinto? I mean, really?
Who told Flavio what he had to do? I don't know that was, okay. Whatever.
Nobody tells Flavio what to do, let alone the fans, right?
Nobody tells.
I do always love the fan questions. I mean, again, I watch a lot of Williams content, but I love when they say things like, James, when are we going to develop a better engine?
Yeah.
We?
Right.
We aren't doing anything.
We're not doing anything.
But James never answers it that way. He's like, well, actually, we're working very hard, in his very, James Val kind of way. But I just love me. Yeah. I'd be like, wait, what are you doing? It's like my cats, right? Like, oh, did I wake you up? What did you do today? Did you contribute to this household? Did you sweep the floors? Did you go to work? Oh, but I'm not like on the dot with your food 5 seconds late.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, what did that has an accident on the front? What did we do here? Well, we didn't do anything.
We didn't do anything.
Yes.
You did this.
No, nobody tells Flav what to do.
No, Flav.
No. Let's see. Next one up. Moment that caused F1 team to boycott. Sky Sports revealed as Lance Stroll has X-rated meltdown at British Grand Prix. The only thing I can think, if it was X-rated, has Lance taken to putting his hand down his pants and adjusting his junk in public? Like his dad? What's going on there?
I assumed he meant his language, but...
Yeah, maybe. Could be his language.
Is that where he had the tantrum? Where did he have I don't remember what race that was.
British Grand Prix, yeah.
Was it? Well, that could be. Yeah, he had that big tantrum that we all watched.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't know if
couldn't hear it, but...
I don't know if he shoved and punched his trainer again or not. Let's see. Next up, F1 team forced to release statement after star rushed to medical center after suffering, get this, horror crash in modified car. Now, that sounds like just some completely, out in the pasture, sketchy stuff going on there. It was basically the test that they did with the cars, and it was guess who? Colapinto.
Oh,
there you go. So, see,
that makes it sound like he was like soapbox racing at like some Red Bull event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right,
here?
Right. With the wings, and they go off the end and see how far it'll fly before they crash in the water.
Right.
See headline number 3 I read. Let's see. McLaren chief Zach Brown admits rivalry with Christian Horner went too far as he predicts healthier relationship with new Red Bull boss Laurent Mekies.
Everybody, I'm going to have a better relationship with Laurent Mekies. What are you talking about? No crap, man.
I guarantee you, when I see Laurent Mekies in the paddock and wish him a happy birthday, he'll be pleasant about it. We're all going to have a better relationship. I find it so rich. It's such a Zach move, isn't it? It's so good.
Oh, I was too harsh on that guy.
Yeah, I went a little too far, but my relationship with the current boss will be much better. It's Laurent Mekies. Of course it will be.
Because Laurent Mekies is like, as far as like, he's not quite Franz Toast, but on the he doesn't strike me as somebody who engages like the way Christian Horner does, you know. And he's not gonna crash his little monkey symbols for Zach Brown to play off of, right? Like which I do. Speaking earlier about Nico Rosberg's orneriness, I did watch that where he was like, "Oh, come on, Zach, you're gonna miss him, aren't you?" Right? Come on, give us a little spice here, right?
Yeah,
so
it was funny.
I love that. My new relationship is going to be so much better.
It
is for everybody. It's going to be better for Yuki. It's going to be better for Max. Everybody's going to have a better relationship with Laurent Mekies. How can it not be?
Right. That's basically, it went too far. So now that he's gone, the problem, we just fixed the glitch, and now it'll be much healthier with Laurent Mekies.
That's right.
Then finally, one that Paul sent me, the quote is, "If I had an F1 team, I'd hire Verstappen." That's from Emerson Fittipaldi.
That's great.
When you're 2-time world champion, you could be a little bit of Captain Obvious, I think.
I guess I want to know what the full interview is, right? Because we often talk about that, how they'll get some word quote from Toto, and it's like somebody asked him a question and he answered it, and they just didn't tell you the question, right? I want to know how this came up in conversation, because I'm sure that Emo's not just walking around being like, "I'm going to start a team and I'm going to put Vettel on or Max Verstappen on it," right? Like, why did they ask him that's and he was probably just like in between bites of his pasta or whatever, and he was like, "I don't know, Verstappen. That kid seems good." Yeah. Yeah, this isn't really stretching it, Emo. It's not like Emo said, "If I'll tell you what, I know what everybody's saying, but if I had an F1 team, I'd hire Ollie Behrman." Yeah, Esteban Ocon. You go, guy. Whoa, really, Ollie Behrman? Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
If I had an F1 team, I'd hire Franco Colapinto.
Yeah. Nope. See, that would all be like, wow.
Really? Okay. But when you say, if I had an F1 team, I'd hire the best driver on the grid. Yeah, you probably would. Cool. Yeah, you probably would. So
although I hope in honor of that endorsement that Max grows the sideburns, right?
Oh, the chops.
Yeah.
Somebody on that grid, Carlos Sainz, could pull off the chops in a big way.
That's right.
He should do the chops.
Because Flip has grown out a tight beard, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like yours. And so I keep trying to convince him, like, come on, grow out some sideburns, do the full emo. He's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a beard, I think that's the way to go.
I think doing the whole emo side, the chops would be awesome. Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Be a real trendsetter.
Be a trendsetter, I think
Max.
I think Carlos could pull it off. He'd look good in that. Yeah.
Carlos would look good in anything. It'd be fine.
He would. My daughter would agree. All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. Let us know what you. So let me go back here. Just let us know what you think about Lewis's Ferrari journey. Am I wrong in defending him here? I mean, there's been other great drivers that haven't had a great time at Ferrari. So let us know how
the list of who has had a great time at Ferrari is way shorter than those who have not.
Way shorter. Yes, exactly. Let us know how you'd fix Monaco. Tell us what you think of Toto and George, and then finally, do you like my book idea about drivers' feedback and car development? So there you go. So let us know what you think, and we'll be back next week as always. Grace and I will cover the news. We've just summer break. Don't fret. We're going to be here for you.
That's right.
We will be here for you, and ultimately, folks, it's free, right? We're not charging for this, and we're going to be there for you. We're going to help you walk through the summer. We're going to keep Formula One in your brain during the summer break, even though the press and the drivers and the teams are all locked down. So we're going to keep talking about it. So in the meantime, if you like the podcast, go over to your favorite podcast player, give us a good rating, give us some love over there. Appreciate it. Also, share it, spread it. Tweet about it or X about it or whatever. Post it. It's one thing that we don't get a lot of love on is sharing and spreading the Park from A on all your socials. So and tag us and all of those. It'd be helpful, and we would be very, very grateful for your help. As Ed mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, thank you to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't and wouldn't do this podcast if it were not for our Patreon supporters, and also. We're very grateful for those who contribute to the website and buy merch and all of the good things. But until we come back next week and do it all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. It's not what I feel I've got to prove at all. I don't really want to prove anything. I started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion. I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain type of car.